Noon, I would like to call our meeting to order. We'll have Pledge of Allegiance by Councilwoman Betsy Wagenhauer, prayer by Councilman Malinowski.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please bow with me. God of peace and promise, as we gather today, we ask for your guidance. Help us weigh the benefits of growth with the real concerns of our neighbors about traffic, safety, and the character of our streets. Give us wisdom to build not just for today, but for generations, honoring our responsibility to protect the well-being of both people and place. May we lead with clarity, humility, and a deep sense of stewardship. Amen.
Amen. We have a consent agenda, minutes from June 9th and June 16th call meeting, GDOT contract for funding, airport paving and rehab, Karen Stapp, Pittman construction contract, airport paving and rehab, Karen Stapp. Can I get a motion and a second for our consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Thank you. We have nothing for zoning on tonight. New business. I'm sorry. Zoning, new business. It's definitely new business tonight with me sitting in this seat. Monica and Molly.
Madam Mayor Pro Tem, could I make the suggestion at this point that we kind of get away from our usual 15-minute of public hearing and extend it to 30 minutes per side for this, based on the amount of interest in it and the amount of the complexity of the applicant's appeal?
Yes. Do we need to vote on that,
Yeah,
Jay?
just, it'd be a motion to extend the.
Was that a motion?
It is, yeah, I so move.
Second.
All in favor? Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, good evening, council. Bear with me. This is quite a long staff report, but I'll lay out all the facts for you. J. Gregory Osborne with Longleaf Commercial Properties, LLC, on behalf of Nell United Associates, or Rooker, is requesting a map amendment to rezone 037138, hereafter referred to as property, from Light Industrial Manufacturing District, or I-2, to a Planned Industrial District, or PID. A final report was issued by the Northeast Georgia Regional Commission as part of the Developments of Regional Impact process, which includes public comment. No additional public comment was filed as of the date of issuance of the staff report. Additional public comment has been received as of today as well. The property is an approximately 170-acre lot located between Monticello Highway to the southeast and city limits to the northwest, undeveloped and zoned I-2. The property has been zoned for industrial use since annexation in the 1990s. The property was considered by two Georgia Department of Economic Development prospects, Project Harbor in 2022 and Project Bengal in 2024. Project Harbor required approximately 900,000 square feet on approximately 115 acres and was projected to use 600,000 GPD of water and produce 48,000 GPD of sanitary wastewater and 792,000 GPD of industrial wastewater. Project Bengal was a drug substance production facility projected to create approximately 395 jobs. It required approximately 80 acres and was projected to use 70,000 GPD of water and produce 50,000 GPD of wastewater. The Planning and Zoning Commission did unanimously recommend denial of the request. The zoning proposal is for rezoning of the property to a planned industrial district, or PID, to develop an industrial park on approximately 170 acres in 3 phases over approximately 10 years, comprised of 9 buildings ranging from 400,000 square feet to 267,840 square feet for a total of 1,839,870 square feet. The zoning proposal details the following alternatives to the light industrial manufacturing district dimensional requirements in section 700.3, table 13. Increase the maximum building width of building 100 from 500 feet to 864 feet, and of building 200 from 500 feet to 648 feet, and decrease the minimum front yard setback of buildings 100 through 900 from 250 feet to 100 feet. In addition, the zoning proposal details the following alternatives to light industrial manufacturing district, or I2, land use regulations in section 630.3, table 8. Use of the property for general warehousing and storage, NAICS code 49311, and increase the AADTT per building from 65 AADTT to approximately 116 AADTT. Finally, the zoning proposal details the following alternatives to the construction and design standard details for typical roadway design on page R01.01 for collectors. Increase of the right-of-way from 60 feet to 80 feet, increase of the road width from 24 feet to 36 to 48 feet, and elimination of sidewalks on driveway A, and increase of the road width from 24 feet to 30 feet, and elimination of sidewalks on driveway B. The zoning proposal indicates compliance with all other regulations levied on property within the light industrial manufacturing district, or I2. To mitigate the increased building width described above, the zoning proposal details enhanced architectural design, as well as a 3 to 5 foot vegetated berm along Monticello Highway, State Route 83. It does appear the zoning proposal could result in a use which could adversely affect streets and transportation facilities if not mitigated effectively. To that end, the zoning proposal outlines the following benefits to the community: $500,000 to the City of Madison for construction of transportation infrastructure improvements at the intersection of Lions Club Road and Monticello Highway, State Route 83. An installation of 6 pieces of public art along State Route 83 frontage of the property to be selected and approved by the Public Arts Commission, or $50,000 to the City of Madison for the purchase and installation citywide of public art by the Public Art Commission. 2 alternatives for transportation infrastructure improvements were included in the zoning proposal: a traffic signal and a roundabout. It is our current understanding that the intersection of Lions Club Road and State Route 83 does not meet the warrant study threshold necessary for approval by GDOT for installation of a traffic signal, the most cost-effective transportation infrastructure improvement available. However, cursory verbal support has been provided by GDOT for a roundabout, a substantially more expensive improvement, the remaining cost of which GDOT representatives have verbally indicated could be provided by GDOT through the EEE LMIG. The zoning proposal further details the following on-site mitigation measures: narrowing the lane intended for passenger vehicles, classes 1 through 3, to the minimum allowed, depicted here at 12 feet. Widening the right-hand turn lane for trucks, classes 4 through 13, to the maximum allowed, depicted here at 16 feet. Separating the 2 lanes detailed above with curbing and flexible delineator posts. Including a requirement in all leases that truck traffic turn right out of the property at either exit. Monitoring outgoing traffic via camera at both exits to ensure compliance with said requirement, and finding those lessees whose trucks violate said requirement. It does appear the zoning proposal is moderately consistent with the comprehensive plan. The plan proposes aggressive pursuit of appropriate new enterprises, as well as retention and expansion of existing industries and businesses compatible with employment needs, extant uses and infrastructure, a positive tax base, sustainability, and community expressed preferences in page 26 of the comprehensive plan under economic development, community goals, and policies. It goes on to state that the establishment of new and expansion of existing industries is necessary to provide jobs for a growing population on page 26 in industrial fixers. Finally, the plan identifies economic prosperity to be achieved by encouraging development or expansion of businesses and industries that are suitable for the community. Factors to consider when determining suitability include job skills required, long-term sustainability, linkages to other economic activities in the region, impact on the resources of the area, or prospects for creating job opportunities that meet the needs of a diverse local workforce on page 27 under quality community objectives. The plan places the property in the industrial expansion area's interstate industrial character area on page 35. The plan indicates appropriate land uses in said character area as medium-scale and large-scale industry, distribution and warehouses, and short subdivisions for small-scale industrial, and appropriate zoning districts as I-1, I-2, and PID on page 41. However, the plan also highlights truck traffic as one of the community's primary concerns throughout, including the top 10 challenges on page 7, as well as infrastructure fixers on page 16. The staff report includes existing AADTT and ADT counts from the draft transportation plan for State Route 83 and Lions Club Road, as well as AADTT and ADT from existing local industries. This is actually the chart that we issued as part of the industrial rewrite middle of last year, with the proposal on a per lot and total basis there highlighted in orange. Finally, the staff report includes a comparison of the truck traffic projected to be produced by the zoning proposal with that of what is permitted by right or without a conditional use permit. Please note that the items summarized here are simply a summation of those conditions proffered by the applicant, as well as the reasonings provided by the Planning and Zoning Commission for their recommendation of denial. Council should determine the sufficiency of said conditions or reasonings and accurately reflect said determination in a final motion, but they have been itemized here for your convenience. Happy to answer any questions you might have.
Does the council have any questions?
I do, Mayor Pro Tem. The reference to several, well, first of all, the traffic study was a result of the DRI requirement, and I believe the applicant paid for that study, is that right?
That's correct. It is required as part of DRI, but also as part of the plan development
Okay.
process.
And yet, in your report, we have this according to several independent industrial brokers, and they have estimates of somewhat less traffic impact than what the traffic study has. Who are these several independent industrial brokers?
Monica, would you like to take that?
So what we were advised is that often when they speculate or when they extrapolate the overall traffic counts, that is the worst case scenario. And so what we wanted to hear from were people who've built similar facilities. And we asked a local industrial person that we have great confidence in, that you have great confidence in, but I promised him I would leave him nameless, and ask him to contact several of the people who build facilities like this and give us some numbers. And so those numbers did come from a trusted source, but they were to give us a feel for, is it a bloat by 30%? Is it a bloat by 10%? Is it 20? What is realistic? And so we wanted to include those, but they are just one piece of information that we've gathered because we didn't have another distribution center that we could resource for information locally.
I personally find it surprising that those numbers, based on the sourcing, find their way into a chart. I mean, to me, that's just surprising. I mean, we don't know who it's from, and it seems like, you know.
And in that instance, if you want to totally discount that, please do so. We wanted to speak to industrial leaders, but they didn't want to speak on the record because they didn't want any local discrimination to affect their businesses.
Okay, thank you.
Do we have any more questions? The floor is now open for public comments. Do we have anyone that would like to speak for?
Madam Mayor Pro Tem,
Yes.
the applicant goes first.
Applicant?
Yeah.
Mr. Gregg, may you come up? We have extended your time to 30 minutes.
Greg Osborne, good evening, everybody. I feel like I'm getting to know y'all pretty well. It's been quite a journey. Do I hit the right button or the left button? Right. Okay, thank you for this opportunity. You've seen the site plan. You know, we got 46% green space on this site plan, 40% is required by the zoning. So we think it's a pretty good layout. These are rear load buildings as opposed to cross dock buildings. Rear load buildings are light distribution and they have a truck dock on one side behind the building. Cross dock buildings are bulk distribution like Walmart Distribution Center, and they have a truck dock on both sides of the building. So this is a very different market than bulk distribution, which we've all been seeing come about in this area lately. So, you know, we're all familiar with the zoning. The site is located in a industrial corridor as designated by the city. It's use is industrial in the comprehensive land use plan. And most compelling is that it has been zoned industrial too for what I've been told is 35 to 40 years. Our primary request is to supplement light manufacturing, the existing zoning, with light distribution, not replace it. We expect this to be a mixture of both uses in the project. So let's talk about traffic. So what we did is I hired my traffic engineer to do a traffic study on the current zoning for our site plan, light manufacturing. And I said, let's compare that to light distribution, 100% in both scenarios, even though our expectation is to be a mixture. So if you look at the red circle at the top, which is existing zoning light manufacturing, passenger vehicles is 6,310. If you follow that red line down to the distribution table, passenger vehicles is 3,220. That's a 96% increase from manufacturing over distribution on passenger vehicles. The green circle, 828 at the top, light manufacturing, again, existing zoning, is trucks only, combination trucks, 18-wheelers, not FedEx vans, not panel trucks, okay? And light manufacturing, you know, it's 828 for light manufacturing, it's 1,049 on this table for light distribution. So there are 27% fewer truck trips, not trucks, in light manufacturing versus light distribution. So if you combine the trucks and all the passenger vehicles, the current zoning would give you a number of 7,138 combined traffic. The blue circle, follow the blue line down to the proposed PID zoning, 4,269. So the existing zoning is 67% more total passenger and truck vehicle combined than what we are proposing. These are called ITE tables. That's what traffic engineers use, International Traffic Engineering. And the reason that developers and brokers and the people that Monica spoke to will tell you that they're always inflated is that we do not have specific categories or codes. You see the codes in the left-hand corner? For example, distribution, for bulk distribution and light distribution is the same table, even though they're vastly different uses and vastly different traffic counts. Same thing with manufacturing. So, I mean, just to give you a little quick math and to show that I think it's illogical, if you look at the distribution at the 1,049 trucks, it says in the peak AM hour, you got 74 truck trips. In the PM hour, you have 74 truck trips. That's very suspicious to me that it could be exactly the same. But if you subtract those two numbers, 148, you know, from the 1,049, you end up with 915, something like that. And if you assume a 10-hour day and you take out the peak and you take out the AM and the peak, PM peak hours, what you have left is this 900 number divided by 8 hours, assuming a 10-hour day. That's 112 vehicles per hour in between the peak hours. That makes no sense to me. You would think that the peak hour would be the highest number of truck trips. But this is all that traffic engineers have to go with. You know, it's not a criticism of anybody. It's just what we have to work with. But, you know, we're very confident that they're overstated and somewhat significantly. So this is a little list of community benefit kind of things that, you know, under the existing zoning, if buy and build is the term we use, right? If I just buy the land, build it pursuant to the current zoning, with no request or no hearings or anything else, then everything in the no column I wouldn't have to do, or anybody wouldn't have to do. But because I'm asking to supplement light manufacturing with distribution, you know, I'm offering a traffic light at Lions Club Road if I can get GDOT to approve it. And it's still not dead. It could happen. And I will pay for it. And/or a traffic light at Ward Road and Eaton Road, which was requested by planning and zoning. Again, I have to do what's called an intersection control evaluation, ICE. This is something that GDOT requires. And what it's intended to do is to evaluate the traffic and to determine what control measure at that intersection makes the most sense. And our traffic engineers say that, and even Corbett Reynolds, who's the district manager with GDOT, who I spend a lot of time with, says that it's definitely going to be a roundabout at Lions Club and in the entrance to our development. We don't know about Ward Road, but I am willing to go forward with these studies and hire the traffic engineers to do them and submit them to GDOT, you know, provided that we all agree that we should continue with this process. So the roundabout is what I'm primarily focused on, and I will show you some more. I'll show you we'll go over the little plan that was already shown by Molly. But we think it's about $3.1 million. There's a grant that has been suggested that we apply for with GDOT, and it's federally funded. And it's a letter, and you have to include the ICE evaluation and a detailed cost analysis of the development, which I am prepared to provide to the city to make this request for the grant for the roundabout. And I will donate up to $1 million for the city's contribution of this grant. As far as our site plan and trying to prevent trucks from turning left towards the city of Madison, going north on Monticello Highway, we've designed our entrance to prohibit physically trucks from turning left. I'm talking about concrete curbs, guardrails, a 16-foot wide right turn only for trucks, and a 12-foot wide lane for cars, passenger vehicles to go straight or turn left in the roundabout. I'm going to make sure that the tenant leases have in the rules and regulations that your trucks can't turn left on Monticello Highway. And if they do, you will be fined, and we will install CCTV cameras to monitor that, to pick up the license plate of any truck that tries to, be incompliant to that requirement. The PID, I think, is something that's been a little bit perhaps misunderstood or puzzling. This is something that we agreed with planning and zoning to do. It has some benefits for us. For example, the utilities can go to each building individually instead of having a master meter at the front, which is ugly and cumbersome. But it also gives the city control over what's actually built, site plan specific. Now, there are some agreed upon, but there will be some agreed upon exceptions that are not significant. They're minor. But nobody can come in here and throw away the site plan and use this rezoning and build something totally different. You have control of that. The $50,000 contribution to the arts has already been mentioned. 300 to 500 blue-collar jobs. Now, this is a projection. That's an estimate. I really don't know. But I've been doing this 40 years, and, I got a pretty good feel for it. And the number keeps going up from one of my original applications. The reason is that we put cameras on Walmart Distribution Center to count the trucks. I paid our traffic engineer to do that. I paid our traffic engineer to put cameras on Love's to count the trucks. And the Walmart Distribution Center is a 870,000 square foot cross-dock bulk distribution facility. They have 862 employees. So my expectation is that the jobs will be far greater than this. And, you know, I just want to say this is just kind of a little bit of ideology that I have, and maybe will not be agreed with everybody, but we all know that some kids can afford to go to UGA and get a bachelor's degree and get a high-paying white-collar job in Atlanta or some other big city. But there are kids that can't afford to go to college. What are they going to do? They need a blue-collar, unskilled labor job, and there are few, if any, in the city of Madison today. Our project will provide those jobs for those kids. So here's a roundabout, and you can see at the top, the 12-foot lane for cars, CCTV camera, flexible delineators or guardrails, 16-foot truck lane. It's not an oval as it appears here. I blew up the picture, so it made it change the roundabout to an oval. But you know, that's the way it works. So if you want to turn left, you're on Lions Club Road, you want to turn left at 4:30 in the afternoon, right now, you're in a world of hurt. I mean, it takes forever to do that. In this scenario, it's the same thing as turning right. You just turn right, get on the roundabout, go all the way around and head south on 83. The trucks that leave our development will not be permitted to enter the roundabout. Now, trucks coming from the south will be permitted to use the roundabout to enter the development. But my goal here is to make it physically impossible for any truck leaving our development to go north on Monticello Highway towards the city of Madison. So this is a phasing map. You know, we're talking about building 2 buildings at a time, okay? And we would start with the buildings that are on Monticello Highway. And it takes at least 3 years to permit, design, engineer, site work, build the building, and lease the building. So, you know, our plan would be to put the first 2 buildings up, get them leased, and then go to phase 2. Phase 1 is 404,000 square feet, 725 car trips, 206 truck trips, and it won't be done until 2029. Phase 2 is 420 square feet, 789 car trips, 300 truck trips. It won't be done until 2032. Phase 3, 469,000 square feet, 854 car trips, 271 truck trips. 2036 would be the completion time for that phase. And then there's a 4th phase that's 2039 completion that has the same number of car and truck trips and the same square footage. You can see the phases on the plan. Phase 3 and phase 4, all 4 of those buildings are the same size. So, you know, we're not gonna, if I get approval for this PID, it'll be 3 years before you even have any traffic associated with phase 1. You're not gonna have what you saw on that traffic table. Now, you know, we may change the sequence of the phases. We may, you know, if somebody says, I want to build to suit, you know, can we do this? Then we would like to have the flexibility to do that. You know, but again, it's going to take 3 to 3.5 years to design the buildings, permit the buildings, you know, and lease the buildings and build the buildings. So this is a 10, 12, 15-year project. So I will stop there and reserve the rest of my time, please.
Before you give that up, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Adam. Can you put the graphic back up with the roundabout in it?
Yeah.
And your conversation about trucks coming out of the development can't enter the roundabout.
Well, I'm trying. Okay.
That'll work. So they can't enter the roundabout, but coming in, they will be on the roundabout?
They will have to go enter the roundabout to turn left, coming north on Monticello Highway to go into development, yes, sir.
Gotcha.
But they cannot leave the development and go north on Monticello Highway, and they will not be in the roundabout. By the way, I did forget one, does that answer your question, sir?
I just wanted to clarify that for everybody.
Yeah, I did not mention the property taxes. So today, this site pays $23,140 in property taxes to the city, the county, and the school board, today, undeveloped. Based on today's millage rate and my just cost projections for the land, the improvements to the land, the buildings, total property taxes for the city upon completion of the project is $305,000 versus $4,339 today. You can see the numbers for the county and the school as well, and all citizens of Madison benefit from county road improvements and county schools, right? I mean, it's not just the money going to the city, it benefits the city. And the biggest thing probably, well, not the biggest thing, but an important thing is it gives diversity to your tax base. Instead of being 90% residential and farms, 10 or 15% commercial, this changes that ratio. And it takes pressure off in the future for raising taxes on residential and farms because you have another revenue stream that diversifies your property tax basis, which is usually the goal of most municipalities, to diversify their tax base as much as possible. So now I'm done. Thank you so much.
We are now open for public comments. Is there anyone here to speak for?
Drew Addison, 1090 Magnolia Drive, Madison. As a citizen of Morgan County and being married to a family that's been here for multi generations, which also means I've been coming in, living here for many decades, the amount of growth I've seen, we've all seen in the past 20 years, it's just unreal. However, the expected growth was the reason that many years ago, zoning regulations and identifying properties and corridors was marked as industrial, and why that's important. So if we go back to identifying those properties and we say this is where we want it to be, why now, when the project comes, that we want to say no and possibly shift them elsewhere in the community? I don't understand that. That corridor was identified, voted on, approved for this exact use. And within that current zoning, there are already permitted restrictions in place that were voted on and approved. Some of that a couple months ago. And with this proposed development of Class A type construction, Class A meaning tilt-up concrete, not a metal building. The quality of construction will also further limit the type of use. And when I say limit, that means narrow in, that we're not going to just have record service, not that anything's wrong with record service, but it'll be a certain type of user going into these buildings. So you've already got permitted restrictions there, the quality of the building, it's already narrowing in the type of tenant. And then you also have a developer that's guaranteeing he will build this type of product, while many developers could come in here right now today and build at a lower quality, and we have nothing to do about it. So the way I see this project is we're giving Greg the ability to build it, but we're also restricting and telling him he has to build this type of product, which is a good thing. Otherwise, we run the risk of the next developer coming and building a metal building which would be even bigger eyesore. So also, with Greg coming to this, his willingness to come to a solution to an already existing problem. Traffic is an issue. Lions Club Road intersection is a major issue. And currently, right now, we appear to be willing to live with an intersection that's rated an F. I'm not seeing any sort of solutions coming to this intersection. I know public safety probably has an issue with a roundabout, but they should also have an issue with the current situation we're in. I've seen them trying to make a left-hand turn, pulling out the side. It's not good either way around. So I give credit to Greg in this development to try to come up with a solution. That's the only solution I've seen from any developer, from anybody else in the community to this point. So to me, I'm in favor of the project because I also see a willingness to move forward and help the community. It's not just build the buildings. The roundabout is helping us all live because that is just a dangerous intersection. And we've also seen an increase in residential and retail growth. I mean, I remember when the Walmart was the original Walmart in the small building. The Ingles was small. We've seen all that grow. The hospital's growing. Well, if you're having residential growth and retail growth, you need commercial growth, commercial being industrial, to balance out that tax base. Because right now, taxes will continue to increase. And they're going to continue to increase, and not everyone in this community and county can continue to pay that. My family is trying to fight off a family generational farm and not turn it into a subdivision. And the only way to do that is to be able to pay for it, pay the taxes. And they just keep going up and keep going up and keep going up while more and more people want to move in this community and buy the property to turn into subdivision. We're not trying to do that because this was farmland. This was not identified as a subdivision. This subject property was identified as commercial industrial, exactly what he's proposing. So I would much rather see an industrial project go where it was been voted on and approved than lose farmland to go into more and more subdivisions. So I just asked for smart growth, and right now we're not seeing smart, balanced growth without industrial. Thank you.
Do we have anyone else here to speak for?
Good evening, I'm Shane Seabolt. I live at 1800 Dixie Highway, Madison. I'm 46 years old, and I've been a lifelong resident of Morgan County. My parents were raised in this county. I graduated from Morgan County High School in 1997, went to college, moved back to Madison in 2001. Since being back to Madison for the last 24 years, I've said we need quality jobs for our children and our residents. I can probably count on my hands how many of my classmates, including myself, if they're not employed, self-employed in one fashion or another, that actually live and work in Morgan County. Recently, we've lost Industries with Pennington Seed moving one of its main warehouses to Covington. And of course, we had Flambeau just recently closed and moved out of Madison. Industry, in my opinion, is vital for a stable community. I think this project will be an opportunity for the residents of Madison and Morgan County to seek local employment and gain back some of those jobs that we've lost. Also, the Industries, as Drew hit on, would help our tax base and shift some of the tax burden off the backs of the residents. I attended the town hall meeting Thursday night, and the elephant in the room was traffic. This site is located within a half mile of I-20, and I commend the developer for trying to mediate the traffic concerns by implementing a roundabout at the intersection of Lions Club Road and Monticello Highway, and for making trucks turn to the right out of the development and head towards I-20. There is no perfect solution, but I think he has tried his best to mediate these concerns more than other developers may do. When making your decision tonight, I encourage you to think about these jobs, how these jobs could positively impact the lives of our residents, as well as help our current industrial tax base. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else here to speak for? If there's no one else here to speak for this development, do we have anyone that would like to speak against?
So my time will be rebuttal time?
You still have 7 minutes.
Thank you.
I'm Celia Murray with the Historic Madison Coalition. And the coalition is firmly opposed to this project for several reasons. The developer said in his presentation, I expect this to happen, or we anticipate this will happen, which goes to the whole heart of the problem. This is a speculative development. And speculative development means we have no idea as citizens of Madison what types of products are going to be warehoused on the site or in these trucks that are going to be on our roads or manufactured on the site, if there's any manufacturing. When I attended the town hall meeting that the developer had Thursday night, and I asked, will you consider giving the city and the citizens of this community that are going to live near this project any say-so in who you lease to or sell property to? And he said no, because that would limit his ability to make money. And you know, not that I fault him, you know, Mr. Osborne's trying to make a living. We all are. But we need to be cognizant of what's good for the city, and certainly you do. A development of the size of this project is totally inappropriate for Madison. I noticed in the planning department's presentation to you, they said that this plan was somewhat consistent with the comp plan. But I suggest to you that it's not. It is not compatible with the current infrastructure that we have. Madison is a small town. Almost 2 million square feet in this development is just way too large for Madison to absorb. It's inappropriate. It's not suitable for Madison. And then we get to the real issue, traffic. There are severe traffic implications. Truck traffic is one of this community's primary concerns. We've seen that time and again in the Madison Comprehensive Plan, in other surveys, community surveys that have been done. Truck traffic through downtown and traffic in general always ranks high. This development is expected, per the developer's own submission, to put 1,000 trucks on the roads in Madison, 1,000 trucks daily, and 3,000 cars. Now, cars don't mean just passenger cars. They mean delivery vans. Anything that's not an 18-wheeler falls into that category of passenger cars. So we're talking about panel trucks and panel vans and those types of delivery vans. We can't handle another 4,000 vehicles on the roads today. Now the developer says, well, we're going to make them go south towards the interstate when they leave our development. Well, there's nothing said about how they're going to get into the development, and I submit to you that they're either going to come up from I-20 and get into that roundabout that he proposes, or they're going to come down 83 and right through the center of town and enter that development, or come down 441 and Lions Club Road and enter that development. There are going to be a lot of trucks entering that development that come right through town. He says we're going to make them turn south towards when they leave the development. But as the developer has said, and as Aaron Wadley has said, trucks are going to go where trucks want to go. And he may put up physical barriers that tell them when they leave the development they have to go south, they're going to go south and get on I-20 and go one exit down and get off at 441 and come right up through the middle of town if they want to head north. That's what they're going to do. They're not going to go miles and take lots of time out of their way to avoid 441. An additional load of more than 4,000 vehicles a day can't be effectively managed by site access configuration or intersection mitigation. Aaron Wadley concludes that the infamous triangle at 441 and 278 would be 220% worse in its functionality after this is built, 220%. And that triangle's a nightmare already. Mr. Wadley says that in the traffic study he performed, there'll be an additional 51 tractor trailers going through downtown every day and 340 passenger vehicles or delivery vans or panel trucks or whatever they may be going through downtown. The jobs. In his original proposal, 250 jobs 10 years out when the development's built. And they're not going to be good jobs. Mr. Osborne doesn't say that this won't all be distribution centers, all be FedEx distributions or Amazon distribution or those small panel truck distribution jobs. Those jobs are minimum wage jobs. And sometimes they're contracted out, so there are no benefits associated with them. They're not going to be jobs that help the people in Madison. We don't have any idea who the tenants will be because it's a speculative development. We don't have any idea what kind of jobs will be offered, whether the employees will be well paid or whether they'll have benefits. We don't even have a guarantee that people in Madison will get those jobs. You build something like this, you're going to attract more people from outside. What we really know is that this development will bring a tidal wave of traffic. And if you want to see what uncontrolled growth with lots of traffic looks like, go down to McDonough. Years ago, it was a nice little town. And now it's nothing but warehouses and tractor trailers all over the place. Last year, the City Council considered a zoning proposal from the Planning Office that would more strictly control industrial development in Madison. That City Council didn't adopt that proposal, but passed some less restrictive changes. Now we're seeing a development proposal that would clearly overwhelm our roads and our infrastructure. Other industrial properties in the city may be looking to develop or redevelop soon because we have lost some things. I suggest to you that this is the time for this City Council to take a step back, take another look at the Planning Department's original proposals for zoning industrial developments. Those may not have gone far enough, but they went a lot farther than what we have now, and it's a good place to start. Therefore, I urge you, if you have any ideas about approving this development, to instead place a brief moratorium on industrial development to consider more protective zoning measures, and then make sure that the proposed transportation plan includes the planning for the infrastructure that will be necessary to support future industrial zoning. You can't, to approve something of this magnitude is to put the cart before the horse when you don't have the infrastructure to support it. Thank you.
My name is Bob Furr. I live outside the Madison city limits, but I run a business here. I feel strange talking at this point because I don't know that I'm for or against this. I'm for economic development. I agree our tax base needs help. I am all for creating jobs. I think Mr. Osborne has done a more than admirable job here in terms of trying to minimize the impact. He's been accused of fear-mongering because something worse could come along. I don't know that that's fair. I think it's a valid concern, though I'm not sure that a better bad idea is necessarily a good idea. I want to acknowledge that I have a personal interest to preserve Madison's history, also in growing that economy and that economic development through tourism and bringing people to Madison. So rather than speak for or against, I just want to offer a perspective. And that perspective is that I've been to a lot of historic places, and Madison is one of the most uniquely preserved historic places I've ever been to. I don't think that every place George Washington tied his shoes has to be preserved. But I do know that once a historic place is ruined, it generally stays ruined forever. Encroachment plays a lot of different forms. In Madison, the form that it plays is too many trucks traveling through its historic district. I agree that Mr. Osborne has done all that he could to prevent trucks exiting the facility from entering that historic district. But there is no debate that starting with construction and then forever afterwards, this project will add trucks through the historic district coming inbound to the project. And as Mr. Osborne has says, that's out of his control. I'll just close by saying in 1974, a tower was built adjacent to the Gettysburg battlefield. The National Park Service, the civic leaders, the state of Pennsylvania did everything they could to try to stop it. Did that tower add taxes and jobs? It did. It also ruined the landscape. And it took 26 years before they were able to buy back that land, tear that tower down, and remove it. And if this is a mistake, we will not have that opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else here that would like to speak against?
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and Council. I'm Steve Whitcomb. I live on 805 Old Post Road. And just a couple of thoughts. I appreciate Mr. Gibson's or Mr. Osborne's presentation. Obviously, very well thought out and thorough. Of course, he's a businessman trying to sell something to our community. I would offer Ms. Callahan, I mean, I appreciate this silent expert that's testified that the transportation study that Mr. Osborne has submitted really is not factual. I understand protecting the anonymity, being anonymous in this stuff is important for some people, but in my personal view, that has no place to be put in as fact. It should not weigh into the council's consideration based on a plan that was submitted by the Mr. Osborne and his group. The second thing I would say is I hope the council does weigh that your Planning and Zoning Commission voted unanimously to disapprove this. I mean, that's yours, maybe not yours personally, because I know members have changed, but that's the city's organization that reviews plans and options as we as you go forward. And to me, that's a very significant. Obviously, you've got the right, and you should have this this council meeting. But I certainly hope when the vote is cast that becomes a significant factor. The final thing I just say is Mr. Osborne laid out, you know, this is a long-term plan. And quite frankly, when they have the ribbon cutting on the 9th or 10th warehouse manufacturing facility or whatever it is, probably the last thing on my mind at that point 15 years from now is, can I make it there? It's not going to impact me, but it is going to impact this city. And as one of the previous speakers says, decisions that are made now have implications. And I would probably opine that many of you sitting on the council will be looking at this in the rearview mirror also. So this is an important decision. It has tremendous implications on the city, as letters and folks have already articulated. And it's not just truck transportation. We get zeroed in and focused strictly on tractor trailers coming through town. And yes, you know, that happens. And no, there's not a quick fix to that. But adding to that cumulative problem, whatever happens in Madison, if nothing comes in we're going to grow, and that becomes a cumulative problem. And the final thing actually is a roundabout is a great idea. Mr. Osborne ain't going to fund it. When the top 3 items laid up by Molly are $500,000 donated for something, we'll fund $50,000 for art, and we're going to build a berm around like we have in the city. Those are wonderful. But my God, if that's a selling point for this major construction, we got to think more than that. The roundabout, if it comes, we're going to fund it. Whether they donate $1 million or $500,000 or $2 million, somebody's going to have to fund it. And if we haven't, as a city, been able to convince GDOT that we have a severe traffic problem on state-owned highways, then I'm not sure we're going to have any more success. So I just ask, and I know you will, but just weigh this decision and the long-term implications versus the near-term gratifications. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else here that would like to speak against this development?
Good evening. I'm Elizabeth Bell, and I live at 555 South Main Street. And so I live between Main Street and Old Post Road. So a development of this size is pretty personal to me. What hasn't been said, I think, is that the 900 or whatever trucks a day will be funneled out to the right to make their way either to I-20 or maybe loop around and come back up through town. So there's that. But what hadn't been addressed is that the 3,000 passenger vehicles, which include Amazon and FedEx and UPS and whoever else, whoever else might end up staying there, living there, working there, they're coming up, they're taking a left out of, they have to go roundabout, but they can take a left. And then they go up to the Wash Rock, if you will, and take a right, and they are coming to the Triangle, and they're going to come through town, and that's going to be backed up. Main Street is backed up in front of my house every day at some point in time. So Main Street's going to be backed up. The Triangle's going to be backed up. They're coming up my road, where my grandchildren are playing in the backyard. They're coming up my road already every day. Every day. They're cutting through Old Post, they're cutting through Academy, they're getting to downtown. If that looks backed up at the Triangle, they're taking a right at Foster, and they're cutting up Pine, Plum, and Poplar alphabetically. And then they're backing up Washington Street to get through town or get back out to the bypass, some of them, but most of them are trying to get through town to 83. So they're backing up Washington already. We can't take 3,000 more passenger vans and cars and whatever these people might put on the road. It will overwhelm us in the district. It will overwhelm Main Street. It will overwhelm our city. So I ask you to keep that in mind. All that I'm taking care of the truck traffic is a mere fraction of what's coming out and toward Madison. And the second thing I wanted to note was early on, in the going through the staff report, it was stated that this plan was moderately compliant, and the jobs should bring economic prosperity if suitable jobs. Could bring economic prosperity if there are suitable jobs. But we don't know what the jobs are going to be. So I don't think it can be considered that a development of this enormity that is truly speculative can comply with that part of the comp plan, which is pretty significant. Okay, please deny this, and please take another look at this industrial zoning. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else that would like to speak against?
Good evening. William Lamb. I've spoken before concerning. I've been in this warehousing and trucking business my whole career. I thought Mr. Osborne did a really very good job. I've been in these before. This is one of the best ones with the consideration he came to us with in a lot of different facets. But just part of the seduction of the whole approach to me, don't have it based on jobs, because I have a warehouse in Atlanta. We have a 150,000 square foot warehouse, and in the warehouse it's racked 3 times, and we have like 9 forklift drivers. Got an assistant and a manager, so it shouldn't be about the possibility of jobs, especially as it goes out into 2036 or whatever. But Mr. Osborne made a good point about it. There's jobs are going to be created, but you got to look at it on the merit of what it does for the country, for our city. It's not necessarily a job issue. And I thought Mr. Osborne's idea of trying to prevent the drivers from, I had a trucking company. They're going to find ways to fiddle fart around how when they want to go north, they're going to go north whether you tell them or not. And I thought it was brilliant that you tried to do it to stop it, but that's just an aspect that I couldn't tell my drivers to not go left or not go right. They're going to tell me go straight to you know where. So it's just another perspective, but I just want to give an update just from somebody that's in the business. I've been in on my whole career. I think growth is good for cities. We got to have it, but just don't have it based on the jobs that are supposed to be out there, because you don't know if it's light manufacturing, if it's just distribution. It's a very small adequate part of it. So just my point. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else that would like to speak against this development?
Good afternoon, James Orr. I'm a Madison resident. Just wanted to respond to a few of Mr. Osborne's comments. I think his main pitch was, well, it could be a lot worse. If some other unknown developer comes in here, it could be a lot worse. Maybe. That's what all developers say. But that doesn't make this one okay. It could be a lot better. If somebody else, if this project is not approved, he could come back with a better proposal that's more suited to our small community and the existing traffic problems that we already have, or somebody else. But that doesn't mean you approve this one. This one should be disapproved, and I agree with Ms. Murray. Look at a moratorium. If it's as bad as he says it could be, if somebody else came in here, then maybe the zoning ordinance for industrial needs to be fixed. In terms of the jobs, right up front, he says, 300 to 500, but I really don't know. That's what he said. And he's right. He doesn't know, because he doesn't know the businesses that are going to come into these buildings. It's all spec. He doesn't know what jobs these businesses are going to have, and he doesn't know what the pay will be for these jobs. In terms of traffic, I think that's been well covered. I think his only thought was, well, yeah, but it's 3 years out. Well, that gets here pretty fast. 3 years out, we'll get here pretty fast. In terms of taxes, I don't recall Mr. Osborne participating in city meetings about our budget. I don't think that's the motivation to improve our budget. Besides, it looks like, from what we've seen, that any excess taxes are going to be used to try to solve the infrastructure problems that his project will inevitably cause. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here to speak against?
Good evening. I'm Annie Hunt Burris. I live at 912 Dixie Avenue, and I have come to speak from my perspective of doing economic development for 40-plus years, mostly in Georgia, but some in Virginia. I worked for the state. I worked for a local county. I worked for Georgia Power. And I worked for the university system, which meant I was in every part of this state. And so to the two gentlemen that spoke for, I have to say, yes, there are a lot of people that work hard through the years to try to bring good quality jobs to Georgia. I'm an 8th generation Georgian, and we've been darn poor. We have done so much better, but we have been adapting our strategies. What Mr. Osborne is proposing is he doesn't own this property, but the Rooker family owns it. They bought it during the Great Recession, and they are first-rate folks. I have enjoyed working with them in a variety of industrial and manufacturing projects. Mr. Osborne, after he finished, I went right up to him and I said, you know, that's one of the better presentations I have ever heard. I want to thank you for your thoughtfulness because you've been very thorough in all aspects of this. But I said, so talk to me about what kind of jobs you really think these are. Because these are probably going to be, because Georgia is one of the premier logistics centers, we have a lot of distribution facilities. I said, what kind of jobs are you thinking these are? 15 bucks an hour kind of jobs? And he concurred. And so I did my homework on a couple of points that I'd like to share with you. First of all, if you look at the distribution market, it has been profoundly impacted the last 5 months because of the new president's policies about tariffs. Everybody is frozen. You don't know what your financial implications are going to be, and Georgia is a major beneficiary or will be impacted by the import taxes that are up. That will profoundly impact our state ports, which we've been investing in for 45 years. It affects the interstate system. It affects airports, whatever. I did a little homework and looked to see at what the marketplace is doing in the country right now. It is overbuilt in many places. Georgia, just looking at Georgia, Metro Atlanta, which we are part of the Metropolitan Statistical Area of Atlanta, our vacancy rate is climbing, and there's a lot in the pipeline because speculative distribution and industrial facilities are built to make it easy for prospects to come in. But everybody's in a financial holding pattern right now. And I sent you all a letter, and I quoted a headline in the Wall Street Journal today. Donald Trump's head-spinning foreign policy. The White House says the president practices purposeful strategic ambiguity. So what does that mean? That means there is great chaos, and people are not going to be investing. They're sitting on their money right now because they don't know which way things are going. It's like the last 2 days, our Canadians, who is Georgia's biggest importer and holder of distribution projects, they're frozen right now. It's just kind of very unusual. So speculative facilities are already crowding the marketplace in greater metro Atlanta, and it's not a pretty thing to see. Look, just go to the next couple of counties as you go into Atlanta. You'll see there's a lot of speculative distribution and industrial space on the market, not leasing. I looked up, did homework today on what would be $15 an hour jobs. Those are not livable wages. If you just multiply it out, if they're working 40 hours a week, $15 an hour, and they're working, 52 weeks, no vacation, that is not livable wage. It is the equivalent of somebody flipping hamburgers at McDonald's, okay? And it's contract labor, and there are no benefits. So what are the local implications? People come in, these are back-breaking jobs. They're not sitting behind a cushy desk, okay? And so when these people don't have benefits, if they go to the hospital for their care, we have to accept them. And that goes back on the taxpayers, their charity cases. And I really hope and pray that you will do two things. I hope you will stand steady. I wish you would respect your own processes. You appointed first-rate people on your planning and zoning committee. You used them to help screen what your own considerations are. So I've come to the planning and zoning meetings. These people are prepared, your staff are prepared, but they unanimously opposed this PID proposal because there's so many unknowns with it. And then I'd like to salute my city council person, Betsy Wagenhauser, who has brought up the notion of doing an economic development strategic plan and not doing it in a bubble. So much of Madison stuff is done in a bubble, but quite frankly, your roads, our taxes are dominated by the county, and we are the county seat. So I really salute you guys. I came to your meeting when you had the joint meeting with the county commissioners, and you're going in early July. I think it was like July 9th. You're going to have a joint meeting again. I would really encourage you to get your strategic plan, say what it is we do want, instead of always being reactionary and saying, we don't want that. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is it anyone else here to speak against? You have 1 minute and 35 seconds left.
Good evening. My name is Claire Wolf. I live on Dixie Avenue. And I wanted to say that I appreciate...
Turn that mic up, Claire. Yeah, thank you.
I appreciate this moment that you are contemplating. And I have read a lot of these pages that have been disseminated. And I just want to say that to say no to this project, which I hope you will, is not to say no to growth, is not to say no to jobs. It is not an entitled, precious, the so-called not in my backyard. This is the wrong project in the wrong location. Yes, we must move forward. Yes, we must embrace growth, jobs, etc. But please don't feel like this is the one that you have to say yes to make us appear progressive and embracing. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else here to speak against? There's 34 seconds left. Do we have anyone that would like to speak for in the last 7 minutes?
Mr. Osborne, that would be your rebuttal time if you would like.
I'd like to make a couple of comments and save half my time for anyone to speak in favor. In fact, let's do this first. You go ahead first, whatever time I tell.
Okay. Mike Conrad's 255 North Main Street. Council members, as always, thank you for your service to our community. The issue for me is what is going on with our tax base. In 2001, we had a balanced tax base, which to me means your three big sources of tax are equivalent. And they were. Residential, commercial, and industrial were about 30% each for our tax base. In 2023, residential had climbed over 42%, commercial to 39%, and industrial, we are at 16.6%. Almost half of what we were. And that's just the beginning, because that's real estate tax. Personal property tax, we own the Wellington building, okay? 342,000 square feet, a lot of it warehouse. We lost Pennington's business because they moved to Covington. Our property is old, low ceiling. They didn't want to be there any longer. They moved to Covington to a newer, taller facility that could handle what they needed. We're missing out, we're losing that. And we're going to become a bedroom community. Maybe some folks want that. I don't. I want a balanced tax base with good jobs and affordable housing, and we have a lot of work ahead of us to get to that point. So, if not this one, which one is going to satisfy it? Their two buildings to begin with are just over, not that much larger than the Wellington facility. And it'll have high ceilings, which are required today. And for a developer to invest in this community, they've got to be able to build on a scale that makes financial sense, and tall ceilings, et cetera. We don't have that here, and we will continue to lose that part of our tax base. So again, if this isn't the one, we've got to figure this out soon, because we are losing. Figure out Head Road, get that fixed in the next 5 years, so we have at least a bleed off of truck traffic coming through town, and then figure out the West Side Loop. Those are your challenges. I'll help you as much as I can. Thank you.
I just want to say thank you for everybody that spoke for and against. I appreciate everybody's passion. Just want to make some comments. Number one, the idea that any developer could give a city the authority to determine who he leases his buildings to is not plausible. You'd never get funding, you'd never get investors. I mean, that's just absurd. Your ordinance has permitted uses, and I have to stay within those permitted uses. This is a Class A facility. I'm going to have A blue chip credit tenants. They're not going to be able to afford the rent if they're not. Trucks coming from the north, if they're coming to my facility from the north, why would they get off I-20 and not go to 113, which is a quarter of a mile from our entrance? Why would they go through Madison if they're coming from the north to my development? Now, they might be going somewhere else, but I can't be responsible for trucks that come from that direction through Madison with a destination that's not my development. The 220% in Aaron's letter is a math error. It should be 120. He doubled it. And I called him and we discussed it and he agreed, yeah, you're right, I made a math mistake. Greg will not fund the roundabout. Yes, Greg will. You can condition my zoning on me getting you that roundabout, one way or another, whether it be a grant, whether I raise the money myself to support my $1 million, or whether my investors pay for it. You can condition my zoning on that. I will pay for this roundabout. Now, if the city can get a grant, I expect the city to ask for that grant. That's fair. And I'll provide the city's contribution for that request for that grant. You know, FedEx, Amazon vans, they deliver things to y'all's houses, right? Y'all not shop on Amazon? They deliver things to my houses. Mr. Lamb said trucks will do what they want to. Well, if they want to tear up their rig and jump over a concrete curb with a guardrail on it to turn left out of my development, so be it, but that's not gonna happen. Now, what they do after they leave my development, of course I can't control that. And yes, they can figure out a way to beat the system if they exit our development. Heck, they could go to Love's and turn around and come back. I understand that. Main pitch is, it could be a lot worse. I never made that statement. Did you hear me say that? That's my main pitch? It could be a lot worse? That's not fair. Thank you so much. I really appreciate this opportunity. And I have a commitment to work with the city of Madison, which I happen to love. I'm a Georgia native. I've been here a million times in my quest to find hunting leases and real estate. And I think Madison is the most charming town in the state of Georgia. And if my zoning is approved, I will get the roundabout. I will do the entrance the way I said. I will build it in phases. You'll get blue chip companies in that development. And I will continue to work with the city of Madison to address other traffic issues that I can maybe help with. I mean, you have 4 state highways converging on your city, right down. It's a tough problem. It's a very tough problem. But there's no such thing as a problem that can't be solved. Thank you.
Thank you. Public comments are now closed. It's back to our council members for motion and second discussion.
Madam Mayor Pro Tem, I have some questions for, I don't know if it'd be for staff or for Aaron, but it has to do with the roundabout and the traffic and the,
Yes.
Is that appropriate?
That's appropriate.
Because what we're doing here, and we got everyone in the room, and I too appreciate those on both sides of the issue. They all made valid points, in my opinion. But we're trying to go, he has a right based on the zoning that we did a few months ago. Every 10 acres, up to a 400,000 square foot building,
Yes.
up to 65 truck trips per day. I don't know how Mr. Osborne's engineer came up to 828 that would be allowed under the existing. It seems to me he filled the lot pretty good. He kept his green space and a little higher than it just had to be, but it looks pretty full. And if I extrapolate those numbers, I come up with a little bit lower. But anyway, my question is on the roundabout, if it's rated an F now,
Right.
and it's needed, and this can help to do that, what would the projection be from an engineer, I guess, on what it would be after the build-out? Would it still be an F? Or are they mitigating just the problem that would be created, or would it help long-term that become a B or an A or whatever?
Aaron? Aaron is on his way.
Yes. I had somebody once ask me to get into local politics, and I'm very happy to be a consultant and not where you guys sit tonight. So a roundabout would, we have some numbers on it, and I don't have them in these many pages. What would be a roundabout would do a lot for the intersection at Lions Club and 83. If you're just looking at that isolated intersection, that is what is needed now, and it is what will be needed then, regardless of what comes here. And it will provide vast improvement for westbound Lions Club Road, and as well as 83. Just looking at the roundabout in isolation.
And then if I may,
Yes.
Madam Pro Tem, also, it talked about, Mr. Osborne mentioned either the roundabout and or the traffic signal on Ward Road. And my question would be the same for if that were part of something.
Sure.
How would that help the traffic in town? Now, would it?
Yes,
And-
so
And how big of a?
we all are
get calls about the infamous triangle, Eatonton Road, Main Street, where 441 and 83 and 278 all converge. It stacks up and backs up. The transportation plan has some ideas to address that, and it's going to close one leg. That may or may not be the final solution there, but basically we'd pull that traffic would be pulled back to Ward Road and funneled through a traffic light or roundabout. They would have to do the intersection control evaluation. GDOT weighs that very, very, very heavily towards roundabout, just because they're safer. They don't require a lot of GDOT after they're built. So there's a good chance that would say we need a roundabout there too. There are some historic properties that may keep that from happening though, so it could be a signal still. But it would provide a lot of improvement. So I did provide a letter after we got some additional traffic numbers. The 220%, what the number, the math, it wasn't a math error, is a stated error, but basically the built condition is 220% of the no built condition in 2036. The Ward Road intersection at 441 would address that. And so all that traffic would be sent to Ward Road, and the majority of it. And it'd be an easier way to get to Main Street or Eatonton Road, north or south. So it'd be a solution. We just don't know what it is yet. But the way GDOT does their metrics, they do skew it heavily towards roundabout.
And I will do the ICE for Ward Road and for
If I may, but it sounds to me that there's a lot of there's a lot of contingencies. I mean, we don't, it's all, this is sort of speculative at this point, whether the roundabout or whether there's a light or whether the transportation plan does indeed, we agree to funnel Ward Road. I mean, there's all these moving parts that we have no idea about, right? And then my question is, and that's all fine and dandy at Ward Road, but this seems to be tied to Mr. Osborne's development, and what impact are we seeing from his development that makes us want to look at Ward Road as a concern?
So there's going to be a few additional trucks on Main Street. We know that. They're going to find their way there one way or another. The bigger impact is going to be passenger cars. And as stated earlier, trucks, vans that aren't combination units, truck and trailer. So we look at trucks a lot. Those are 18-wheelers, but there's a lot more trucks that do fall into a different category with passenger cars. That's going to be noticeable. It's going to be a noticeable impact at that triangle. That's why Ward Road became so important. I've not had a chance to look at that particular proposal for that intersection, but that's been in planning's long-term vision there. GDOT has a long-term vision of something happening at that intersection. So that's the reason we need that if this moves forward. I do want to say, just looking at overall, there are a couple of GDOT projects that are really important to consider in this. One is Lions Club Road improvements, with construction slated for 2034, but it's still in the long-range plan, which means that they don't have a current plan to build it, and it's got to start soon. And a North Madison bypass with construction in 2034. Again, it's in the long-range plan as well. But if this or anything moves forward, we should push those very heavily to get funded. We have met with GDOT, but those become vitally important because Lions Club is already a traffic issue now, and it will be a much worse traffic issue after this. So the letter that I sent out, my biggest concerns were Lions Club Road and the triangle, 83, 278 north converging onto to Main Street.
A question there. Are you finished, Betsy?
Yes, thank you.
I'm not sure I quite got the answer to Rick's question.
I didn't either.
So the Lions Club intersection now is rated an LOSF.
Yes, sir.
With a roundabout that Greg is talking about putting in. But with the additional traffic that would be associated with that facility, would that raise it to a C, or would it still be? In other words, it'll help. It'll help, guaranteed. But we're also putting a bigger load of traffic onto it. So would it be an improvement or not?
It would be an improvement. I don't believe we've had that rated as a roundabout in these numbers. Do you know if that was done?
The roundabout is not considered
Yeah.
to be the traffic.
Yeah, they're looking at it as it is right now. I'm just looking through. I don't think we have numbers on the roundabout for what it will be, but the intersection control evaluation does take that into account. That's the reason it would drive us to a roundabout there instead of a traffic signal. When they talk about a traffic signal warrant, when you get to a certain volume of traffic, only a signal can get that much volume through. And so you've got to have that volume of traffic to warrant. So a roundabout would be the right solution. It's going to lower the level of service or raise it. I hate to speculate on what that would be, but it would be remarkable compared to what it is now. I'll say it would probably flow freely for the most part, with a little bit of stacking in the afternoon. But it would be it's continuous movement. Once people got used to using a roundabout, it would work really well. I don't have the level of service though, and that analysis doesn't appear to have been done on a roundabout.
Has not.
I had one other question. I might add too that Mr. Wadley also provides engineering traffic studies for the county as well as for the city of Madison. Am I right in assuming that out of the, I think you've said there'll be an extra 4,000 additional vehicle trips in the city of Madison with this this facility? Am I right in thinking that half of those are going to be coming to the facility, and therefore some of the right turn only controls that we have aren't really, there's no way of controlling what route they're taking to get to the facility? Is that a fair assumption?
Yeah, so that is cut in half coming, half leaving. So it's essentially half that number of vehicles per day, but you count them each time they pass a certain point. So they get counted twice. So yeah, we do lose some control on where they go. Currently, we hear from some of our current industrial owners here that we have they have a lot of their folks coming out of Putnam County or Covington. So I think from I-20 would be the vast majority, but we would still have a noticeable impact on Main Street on overall vehicles.
One more, if I may, but the level of service, that number can be quantified if the study was done or something.
It can be quantified.
Yep.
Yes, sir.
But the traffic was not significant enough to warrant a signal from our development.
Mr. Osborne, speak up so the country folks can hear, please.
Just let me repeat what I just said.
Yeah, he said that it would be quantified. He would have that done. Right?
If I'm that older, I'm just trying to help.
No.
Just trying to help the project.
Yeah, and then he said that we did not warrant a light, so the traffic volume was not at the point to need a light. Doesn't mean it's light traffic, but it's there. Not a roundabout is a solution at that one intersection. To circle back to the beginning.
Any more questions?
I have one. Thank you very much. I guess it's a naive question. It's Mr. Osborne. The first time we talked about the number of jobs that it would create, and we also talked about the number of parking spots that you would put on that property. And it was a seeming staggering number compared to the number of people that would be working there. And I'm not sure why. It was like 1,600, was it not?
1,300
1,300?
parking spaces for vehicles.
Is that a requirement of banks, or?
It's a requirement for lenders to have 1 per 1,000 to 1 per 1,500 square feet space on the development. Now, The whole thing with the jobs and the whole thing, you know, with number of parking spaces is I don't know the ratio of light manufacturing to distribution. I've done market studies. It could be 50-50. It could be 70 distribution, 30 manufacturing. It could be 30 distribution, 70 manufacturing. It depends on the market. And, you know, people say spec when our vacancy rates are really high. Our vacancy rates are so high because of all these damn 1 million square foot bulk storage buildings that are being built. And people won't invest in them anymore. This product is not in this submarket today. So, does that help, sir?
It does.
Thank you.
Any more questions from council?
I have one more, and I'm going to ask another naive question, but I spent 45 years as an educator, so you need to know that I'm into audience participation. How many people have ever driven an 18-wheeler? Raise your hand if you've driven an 18-wheeler. When I was in the Army, I was in a heavy truck unit, and one of the thrills of my life was driving a flatbed through the mountains of Virginia with a tank on the back. And it's something I remember 60 years later, so it had an impact on me. But I wonder about those heavy trucks, those 18-wheelers, working through that roundabout with curbs and everything. I guess I'm a little bit concerned about that.
It has to be designed to accommodate trucks.
Mhm. So you feel comfortable that they would be able to?
I'll have no choice. We'll have to accommodate trucks.
We're going to need you to come to the microphone, please.
I don't mean to be silly. It has to accommodate trucks. You know, the diameter is over 100 feet. No way we'll get a grant or GDOT approval to do a roundabout that will not accommodate trucks.
Gotcha.
I don't know how they make it through the town, to tell you the truth. I mean, you know, the bumpers of cars on each side of the road.
Careful, you can get an amen for that.
We have an issue in Cedar Lakes with people driving over curbs all the time, and they're replacing the same curb just about once every 6 months, and they're not 18-wheelers, I don't think. I'm not sure what they're driving over, but.
Well, my barrier at our exit, you cannot drive over with a semi unless you want to tear it up. Just won't be able to.
The question, Mayor Pro Tem.
Yes.
Mr. Osborne mentioned jobs, and it seems like the key is how many of these 9 buildings will be distribution and how many will be light industry. And the production of jobs is vastly different between the two. And we have Mr. Lamb with experience in that industry who basically, if it's going to be one building, one of the 9, that's going to be distribution only, it could produce maybe 15 jobs. None of the truck drivers will live here in Madison. They're coming from Des Moines and from North Carolina. You'll have forklift drivers within that facility moving the not that there's anything wrong with having a forklift job, but you're looking at, if they all turn out to be distribution, all 9 buildings, you're looking at maybe 150 jobs total. Where, and I look at the chart that is actually included in our packet, which I've miraculously lost now. But I believe it's a chart showing truck trips for other businesses that exist, including Mr. Conrad's business. For example, Rima Tip Top up by the airport. It's 160 jobs at that light industry. That's more than this entire project would produce if it was all distribution. And with that 160 jobs, Rima Tip Top is able to do that with 10 truck trips a day. And we're talking about 1,200 truck trips a day. And that's not just Rima Tip Top, there's other ones there. Mannington has 500 jobs associated with Mannington for light industry. If I am all about, I value jobs and I value the importance of providing jobs for our citizens, but if you really think that's important, we should not be doing a PID. We should be letting Mr. Osborne do the I-2 zoning, which would not allow, without a conditional use permit from us, would not allow distribution and warehousing, would do light industry, and maybe get these jobs that are so important, and at the same time be limited on traffic to the 55 trucks a day per building instead of the large number we're looking at here. That's
Yes.
I'm sorry I can't tell you the ratio between distribution and manufacturing. I'm sorry I cannot make a honest commitment to you on number of jobs. I'm being straightforward with you. But if it were all light manufacturing and you couldn't lease it, how many jobs would you get? That's the reason we're asking for the diversity in uses. It could be 90% light manufacturing. It depends on the market. But if you say all light distribution, light manufacturing, and it doesn't lease, you're going to have a mess on your hands. That developer will have a mess on their hands. I don't know if you can find one that would actually do that. It's 170 acres. It's not. It's going to be a large number of square feet. So that's my only response to your concern, and it's a valid concern. Thank you, sir.
And I would add, one of the benefits, Mr. Osborne, for you would be, you would be entitled by right to do those things under I-2. You wouldn't need to come to us for any approval whatsoever. You wouldn't need to have a public hearing, and because you would be entitled to do industrial with those limitations. I think only 2 of your buildings out of the 9 would be bigger than what I-2 currently allows. So you still have the same number of buildings, pretty much the same size, limitation on traffic, but you wouldn't need to come to us for anything.
I-2 currently allows 400,000 square feet. None of my buildings are over 260,000 square feet.
There was a width, 1 or 2
Yeah,
of them
the
wider,
width,
but the
yeah.
square
Wider.
footage were
Right.
still.
Only on
Thank you.
fronting Monticello Highway.
Thank you for that clarification.
Yes, sir.
Mayor Pro Tem, if I may.
Yes, ma'am.
So, the thing that is standing out for me is, first of all, I don't believe any conversation with any of the council members, with our city manager, any of us ever thought, no, we don't want industry. That's just not going to happen. We don't want it. That's on it. There is a perception, I think, sometimes, especially in a situation like this, where we're like, whoa, wait a minute, maybe we want to put on the brakes. But I think that that our, number one, our move to revise the light industry ordinance to better reflect the character of Madison and to be more specific about what we want here in that area that is zoned industrial. I mean, no, we're not saying don't do industry there, but we did make some specifics. And on the heels of that, then we start moving into talking about economic development and how would we achieve that if we've talked with the county and that sort of thing. And in all of that, we also said, all right, well, here's what we're not doing when we're talking about economic development. We are not actually going out and recruiting the industry we want. We are not, and so it's fair. So now we're still, it's rather still reactive, and that's nobody's fault. We just haven't necessarily done that yet. But we are still in a position of being kind of reactive. So when it comes in and says, I want to do this, and we're like, whoa, wait a minute. And so we're having to, instead of being proactive and saying, here's what we want, we are faced with having the industry that's coming in that wants to be in, but may not fit what we want and even our revised ordinance. And the main thing I want to say is this, we are putting the cart before the horse. That's plain and simple. We are putting the cart before the horse. The cart is 1 million plus square feet of industry, and the horse is the bypass.
I don't think, I mean, I don't believe, I want industry. I mean, but if we don't have that horse ain't in the stable and ready to go, all of this is just going to be one, geez, words fail me because I have to be civil. But it's going to be a mess, let's put it that way. And I mean, I get it. And then can we get that back? I mean, it's like, who was speaking of the tower, I'm sorry, of the tower at Gettysburg or wherever, and they had to tear it down to make it look pretty again. I mean, look, I just say, we gotta get that horse going. And so, two things, and this has come up before. I mean, I don't think there's, in the staff report, one of the benefits to the city was the contribution of $500K for transportation infrastructure, and I think that's gone up to maybe $1 million now and such. But basically, we're only solving a problem that this build out is creating. I mean, we already have the traffic problem, but now we're going to have a greater traffic problem, and so it's like, yeah, I'll put money toward it, but I'm basically fixing the problem I'm causing. And so that, I don't see that as a benefit to the city at all. And to be fair, and again, you've mentioned yourself, Mr. Osborne, I'm totally down with that. I understand you can't say what's coming in. You can't say if it's going to be all distribution or if it's going to be all light manufacturing, but that's on you, and I get that, but the ramifications of all light distribution, again, is something that I don't think that we'll ever be able to get back. We won't be able to kind of roll that back and say, okay, let's have something different. So, and then, let's see, I was one more. Anyway, I just feel like there's a lot here that we don't have answers to, and you can't give them, and I understand why. But I still hate that we don't have those answers. Thank you.
Make one comment to your comment, be very brief.
Yes.
We do have the Monroe bypass coming online in October. We all think, including the traffic engineers, that it's going to alleviate a lot of the Walmart traffic. They'll go down Monroe bypass to Highway 11 to I-20. As far as the Madison bypass, here's the conundrum. You don't have the traffic to support the Madison bypass. That's why it's taken that's why they're not building it right now. You know, I mean, the cart before the horse is a great way to describe it. But as strange as it sounds, the traffic our development will create will strengthen your case for more transportation improvements from GDOT. It's the truth. I'm not trying to hide from anything. But if you sit here and do nothing, it's going to be the same as it is today, God knows how long. So, just food for thought. Thank you so much for letting me do that.
Mayor Pro Tem, may I?
Yes.
Betsy, forgive me, I'm not, I'll just say I heard it, I posed a question and I heard a different answer than you on the traffic, but I think we're trying to get to the same thing. We may disagree, but I think, I was asking, those have been two spots that we've been looking at, not the roundabout, but the Ward Road intersection. We looked at that. We looked at the Ward Road intersection years and years ago, and it seems, I don't remember, but it was an exorbitant cost to get a traffic signal there and to divert that traffic, but to help the triangle. And I don't know if if we could ever get to a point that could satisfy Mr. Osborne and the city and this body, but it seems to me if we have a way to, I don't know his time frame, he may say, no, I'm not interested, but if we have a way to, and what I heard Aaron say is it will help traffic. It'll help a lot, I think he said. So if it's each of those help a lot anyway, why wouldn't we at least explore that and see if it's something that he could or couldn't do? But again, I know we're running into time frames and we've got something on the docket tonight, but we've got a lot of attorneys in the room and I'm not one of them. But it seems to me if we don't allow any industry to come until we get a bypass, I don't know, that might be I don't know if that's an issue or not. Could it be a takings issue?
What's exactly your question?
Well, if we don't let anything come until, in the industrial zone property that's been zoned 40 years,
40.
until we get a bypass.
It's gonna depend, and maybe we can talk about
But then
that.
again, he does, to Eric's point, he does have some rights. He can come in now and do that without, yeah.
Yeah.
And if I may, I just want to say, I didn't mean we should halt all industry until we have the bypass at all. But what's manageable? Can we get into, and again, the by right, as Eric pointed out, as we all know, by right, come in. You can do 400,000 square foot buildings there. That's going to be around 35 trucks per building. That's a heck of a lot. I mean, if you do light industry, I'm not talking distribution, but your by right stuff.
Okay, remember, light manufacturing as it's currently zoned has 92% more passenger vehicles than light distribution. When you combine the trucks and the passenger vehicles, it has 67% more vehicles than light distribution. This idea that light manufacturing is going to be something that won't impact our traffic is just false. It just is, and these are traffic studies. These are from traffic engineers. They're not from Greg. I had nothing to do with the answers. But let me say this. I'm willing to table this zoning hearing. If you need me to do some more work to analyze the Ward-Eatonton intersection, I'll do the ICE on it. I'll see if it qualifies for a traffic light. Worst case scenario on the price of a traffic light is probably about $500,000. If we get this grant for the roundabout and I contribute the city's portion to that grant, I'll pay for the Ward-Eatonton traffic light. So if you have an interest in giving me another few weeks or 30 days to bring you some more concrete answers on those issues, I'm happy for that.
This is back to the council. Would you like to table?
I personally don't see any harm in doing so, but if, I may be the only one, but what I heard Aaron say is those together would significantly help existing problems even after full build out, and I just think it's worth looking at, but I may be alone in that.
I think I have a right to request tabling myself, do I not?
You can request it, but they have to motion it.
Oh, okay, thank you. It's an important enough issue for all concerned to take as much time as it takes to get all the answers, in my opinion.
Madam Mayor Pro Tem, did you make are you asking this council to table this?
Yes, sir, I am.
And Jay, you're saying the council needs to make a motion and a second and vote on that?
It's y'all's choice
Okay.
to table it. He's asking y'all to do it, but it's up to
A
you.
question on that, though.
Yes.
Is the public comment section, if we do table it, is the public hearing concluded?
There's two options. You can keep it closed and just table it for a vote. You could also choose to sort of re-advertise, and Molly and I talked about this a little bit, re-advertise and open it back up. So that would be up to you.
Well, I will say that the reason I asked that we extended time was because this is important stuff.
Yes, sir.
And, now I find myself on the horns of my own dilemma, whatever that expression is, but I think we've talked enough. But on the other hand, this is not something we should be rushing. So if the will of the council is to table it, I won't be opposing that. But I do want to make one quick comment, if I could. I know we're potentially moving on. I just wanted to address very briefly the revenue questions about this project. The mix of business now, to Mr. Conrad's point, I believe we're at 17% industrial. What is not mentioned in that is we're at 34% commercial. So the two of those together is over half of our property tax revenue comes from the combination of industrial and commercial. Now, one could make the argument that if we were to approve this, we might increase our 17% up a point or two, but it could come at the expense of our commercial, because all of a sudden it's harder for visitors to come and go to our wonderful restaurants and shops because traffic is even worse than it is now. When it comes to raising taxes, I think the implication was we were continually raising taxes. This city has not raised property tax, I believe, for 10 years. And I believe the last time prior to that was 5 years prior to that. Nobody likes raising taxes. Everybody wants revenue. I'd love to get our 70% industrial up a little bit higher. I agree, we want that. I mean, everyone up here wants that. It's just really kind of a question in my mind of how much to the quality of life will that cost us, not in dollars so much, but how much will it change
Right.
Madison that you profess to really like, to love that much. Anyway, if the will is to...
If I may, I'd like to add one to this. And I get that. Okay, you want more time, you want to look at this intersection and that and build that out. That is not taking off the table the number of trucks that are going to be in our town, period. You're going to help them flow better, you're going to help them go here and that, but we still got an enormous number of more trucks on the road because of that. So for me personally, you could say go this road instead of that road. Again, but there's also the unintended consequences of those trucks, which are a lot of the car traffic then hitting our smaller roads in order to get around, not be slowed down. So personally, I mean, I totally get it, but I don't feel like, okay, fine, have a roundabout, have even Ward Road, the city's going to have to build that. I mean, you can put a light there, a roundabout there, but if we're going to merge, as is described in the transportation plan, nobody's picking up that tab except the city. So my concern is this: the trucks are there. They're still trucks. They're still going to go down Main Street. Many of them, they're going to be coming in. They're still going to be coming down Main Street. They're going to be coming down 83. And I appreciate everything you're doing to try to mitigate the impact, but it's still going to be an impact. It's going to be an impact that I personally don't want to see.
Yes, ma'am, and the current zoning is going to be an impact that you don't want to see. All I was suggesting is, if you gave me 30 days, I could come back and tell you, hey, we got a grant for the roundabout. We did an ICE on Ward and Eatonton. Here's the cost for a traffic light there. Here's the impact on the LOS rating for that intersection for the installation of the traffic light. And then I think it would give you information that would help you make a more informed decision.
Okay, it's back to City Council, but right before we make a decision whether we're going to table this or not, we spoke a lot about quality of life. And we talked about quality of life and traffic coming into our cities. We also have to think about the people. He did say some jobs. So I try my best to make sure that I speak for all people and not just certain people. There are people in our cities that doesn't have homes to live in. How do I know? Because I'm on council and they come to my house. Because I was voted in to speak on behalf of the citizens. So at 11 o'clock at night, I have people that come to my house with their kids in their cars, and they don't have anywhere to go. I formed an organization to try to help with rent. That's all people call me about is rent, because there are no jobs here. We said that area is a F. There will be an improvement there. So I'm both ways. We said we don't want a lot of traffic in our city, but we say tourism is one of the biggest things that we have. No, we don't want the trucks, but we need the cars. If tourism is bringing in that much revenue to our city, then we don't want the cars to go away. That's my soapbox for the night. It's back to City Council. Whether you would like to table it or move forward.
If I may, I move to deny the map amendment to rezone 037138 from I2 to PID based on the application, public hearing, discussion, and considering applicable standards due to the following reasoning, findings, and conclusions: lack of proportionate benefit to the community, potential negative impact to the transportation network.
I second the motion.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Raise your hands. All opposed?
The motion passes.
The motion passes. Thank you. Yes. We have no unfinished business, no new business, no public comments. This meeting is adjourned. Oh, no,
It's all right. Voted my conscience. Hey, how you doing, George? Good to see you.
Mr. West, please.
I wasn't impugning that I was going to vote for it, and I wouldn't have done it without allowing more public comment either. I would never have said, let's just do it under the cloak of darkness, you know. I think fundamentally, it's hard to make a decision that big with 15 minutes or 30 minutes.